First things first, Felix, how are you?
Well, thanks, Robin. Yeah.
Okay. Well, before we talk about the music and everything, I read somewhere that you like to walk around the venue when you come to a place.
I do. Yeah, I do. I enjoy walking a lot. It seems to be the pace that I can think best.
Okay.
And being on tour, as obvious as it sounds, everyone's very cooped up. We're in tour bus. We're in backstage band rooms, we're in airports, aeroplanes. They're all very closed-in spaces, so at least once a day for me I have to go walking. Yeah.
By yourself?
By myself, yeah.
So, have you had your walk today?
I have, actually. I had a long walk, but Amsterdam's a crazy place because you get lost so easily. Yeah.
So where did you go? What do you try to find on your walks? Is it just clarity in your mind? Or?
Yes, I mean at best it's just clarity. It's nice to look up, to look up at the sky and the buildings and the city. I feel like when you're traveling, you tend to look up more. When you're in your hometown, you tend to look down more because you sort of know where you're going. So it's nice, I think, being away from home to look at people, look at the sky, get lost, that sort of thing.
And well, you've been all over the world playing.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I suppose you walk around all over the world. Do these places inspire you musically then as well?
I think so. I mean, I walk around the vicinity of the venues usually. I mean, I like walking quite a lot. So sometimes I walk, between 5 and 10 kilometers in a day, if it's a day with a few hours spare kind of thing. But I feel like I get a lot of ideas from touring, especially this idea of movement. A lot of touring is spent either looking at the window of a bus or, walking around this strange vicinity of the venue, that sort of thing. And so there's a lot of images that sort of pass by your head, and it's hard to process those until you're sitting down at a piano for me when I get home, and then all of that movement seems to make more sense in music. So it's a way of processing all of that unexplainable movement earlier on. And also music's interesting movement-wise because once a song starts, you can't look back anymore, you just have to be in the song. So there's a very, very particular kind of movement to playing music as well. Both of them interest me very much. And yeah.
Do you write on the road then?
Sometimes.
Okay.
At the moment I'm trying to write on the road, but it's quite difficult. Firstly because I usually write with a piano, and whenever there's a backstage piano, Ollie, the keys player in the band, has an obsessional need to take the piano, when we're there. So I don't usually get a chance to play all that much while I'm on the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you get home, and I believe now, Steal the Light was 2013, so I suppose the band is looking forward. And I believe I read somewhere that you want to have an album out early 2016.
Yeah, I think so. That's the plan. Yeah.
So, have you already collected some ideas, or have you already started on the album?
We have started on an album, yeah, sure thing. We've been recording songs throughout the year. We've been touring and going back into the studio. We're not quite finished yet, but we're pretty close. I think we've got a really great collection of songs. And from what I can tell so far, I mean, every album is quite different, but what we found again with Steal the Light is something we've kind of taken and run with in this next group of songs. So they're very festive, a lot of rhythm to them. I think it's going to be a really nice album.
Well, before we go further on this, you say what we found again on Steal the Light. So what was it that you found again?
I think a real dedication to writing songs that would really light up a room, that people could sing, that people could dance to, that really made the most of the percussive elements in the band, the horns, those kind of really tough front-running kind of sounds in the band that maybe we had in the first couple of albums, and perhaps we experimented with other things more after that. But I think we sort of came back to playing to our strengths again and realising that each song we write has got to be able to stand up on a festival stage, and if it can stand up on a festival stage, then it belongs on the album, that kind of thing.
Is a direction like this, is that a conscious effort?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Not with the really good songs, it's not, no. Like when, I write a lot of the songs, and when there's a good song, then it just kind of happens, and that's a wonderful feeling as a songwriter, to know that you're sort of in the midst of something that's going to take off. and sometimes, like, once you've got that, then the like 2 or 3 songs kind of define the atmosphere of what the album's going to be. And so at that point you can kind of start purpose writing to a degree. You can say, like, I really want a song that's going to be able to have this kind of rhythm or that kind of chord progression, or, you know, and you can kind of start to compile a little bit like that around them. But the best songs, the ones that kind of define the album, happen. Yeah.
This might be an impossible question to answer, but when do you know when you have a good song? When you have one of those songs?
I think so. Yeah. I think it's sort of an intuitive reaction that you get to something that feels authentic when you write it, or it is just very exciting. And when you don't have to question a melody too much, when it kind of sings itself, the same with the rhythm, when things click into place easily, then you generally know you've got a good song. And I mean, there's a great relationship that a songwriter has with themselves in a way, you know, that they have an animal or a spirit or someone who's sort of next to them the whole time, and you share a lot of these things with yourself as you're going. So it is really possible to get excited in a room when you're by yourself. At least this is my experience of writing songs, and when I find myself very excited in a room, having a dialogue with myself, then I usually know it's a good song. Yeah.
So have you had a dialogue with yourself then for the next album already?
Yeah, for a few of the songs,
okay.
definitely.
And then, I suppose you can't talk too much about it, but can you give me or share something about how you kind of started off writing for the
new album?
Yeah.
Well, I think the new single that's out at the moment, Wolves, is a pretty good indication. That was a song that I really wanted to make something kind of wild, and I love the idea of not getting cornered into a room. You know, sometimes being in a band or something like that, you can find yourself in an event where people want to corner you into a room and ask you questions you don't want to answer and things like that. And I wanted to write a song about kind of breaking away from that, getting back into the real spirit, the wildness of performing. And the song, although I wrote it more simple, turned out to be really wild when we brought it into the band. We ended up just playing it, and not to a metronome or anything like that, just playing it quite wild. And so the rhythm sort of took on its own shape, and then it sort of found an arrangement by, you know, once we had, you know, half an hour of playing together, something like that, then we found the really good bits, because it's mostly the same chords, and then sort of chopped it up. So it has a curious arrangement, which I like as well. So I mean, in that sense, it's got a big chorus, it's very rhythmic, a lot of horns, it has a kind of a dark Caribbean quality to it or something like that. And yeah, that's a pretty good one on the album, I reckon, in terms of an authentic one. Yeah.
Do songs change? Because you say, well, you write a lot of the songs, but then do they change a lot once you bring them to the band?
Yes, they do. That's one of the defining features of being in the Cat Empire for me. When I write songs for myself outside the Cat Empire, they don't often change very much, and I love that kind of the calmness that comes with that approach. And with the Cat Empire, I can't be precious about it. I bring it into the band and they pull it apart, they rearrange it, they change the rhythm. I think it's going to be one thing, it turns into another thing. Not all the time, but sometimes, yes.
And well, we kind of touched upon it already, but with Steal the Light, what was the song that had that sort of, well, that feeling that we mentioned earlier for you on that album?
2 of them had that feeling. One was Steal the Light, which is the title track, and the other one was Brighter Than Gold, I think. In terms of songs where I just thought, this is the world where I want the album to kind of be in. Steal the Light, especially because of that chorus. Something about, I mean, I think music is kind of cannibalistic in its own way, insofar as it feeds off itself the whole time. If you do a big tour, you want to somehow articulate through music what it is you're experiencing, which is in turn going to cause more of that experience, if that makes sense, to sort of re-enter the dream, if you like. And so much of what I write about in this band is really just trying to articulate what I can't really articulate with words, so music just keeps on doing it, and in turn it sort of feeds itself as well. So it's an interesting, strange place, but I thought Brighter Than Gold and Steal the Light did that really well. They were kind of really happy cannibals, those songs.
And because these songs are about 2-3 years old, have they changed over time for you? How do you look at them now, after, or while you're working on the new album?
I like those songs still, which is a good sign. I mean, there are some old songs lately that I haven't enjoyed performing, And it's a strange thing when that happens because it becomes very clear. It's like, oh, it's time to stop performing that song because it doesn't feel real to perform it anymore. You know, it feels like it's an act or something like that. Whereas with Brighter Than Gold, Steal the Light, you know, a whole lot of other songs, and I feel like they still got a lot of life in them, and I look forward to the moment in the set when I can perform them. Yeah.